Setting your seam means that once you've stitched two pieces together, whether it's a strip, a half square triangle, before you press to the dark side or to the darker fabric, what you're going to want to do is set the seam. And that means you're simply going to glide the iron over the stitching of the seam, and you kind of squeeze that. What that does is it squeezes and presses and flattens the thread and the seam together, so that when you then go to press this to the dark side, and if you notice this strip, I'm pressing from the right side. That's because when you have a strip piece, you do want to press. You want to bring it over. It's a little hot. Bring it over, finger press like so, as much you can. And instead of pressing like this, right, if you press like this, you're going to distort your nice straight seam. If you press from this side and run the iron up the seam, you don't distort the seam. It creates a nice flat seam. And if you set the seam, which means pressing like this before you do this, you get a nice flatter seam. If you're using shapes that are cut on the bias, for instance, like a triangle, instead of pressing like this, which will distort the shape, you want to press with the point of the iron going up the bias at a 45-degree angle, like that. And the other tip is always let your pieces cool, especially when you're working with bias pieces. Let them cool before you actually take them and move them and play with them, or stretch them, or go and sew them again. The problem is that if you don't let them cool, then this bias is still it's got some moisture in it perhaps, and that's what stretches out as well. So always let your pieces cool before you go on to the next step. That's another big tip.